Om Shanti. Good morning, Diamond morning. Baba's Murli. Today is the 1st of September 2023. In the essence, Baba says, sweet children, stop remembering your own bodies and those of everyone else, and recognize the Father accurately as what he is. And consider yourselves to be points, and remember the Father in the form of a point. Sweet children, stop remembering your own bodies and those of everyone else, and recognize the Father accurately as he is and what he is, and consider yourselves to be points, and remember the Father in the form of a point. Question: which knowledge do you only receive from the Father at this time? Knowledge that no one else can give you. Answer: you live together as husbands and wives. You look after your households and also remain pure. The Father gives you this knowledge at this time. No one else can give you this knowledge. You have to donate the 5 vices. The main one is lust, which you have to conquer completely. Only by remembering the Almighty authority and following his directions do you receive strength for this. And the song of Baba's Murli. Have mercy on those who are unhappy. Om Shanti. The Father sits here and explains to you, children. Who is that Father? You children sitting in front of the Father know this. The intellect's yoga of you children of the Father know this. The intellect's yoga of you children is with the unlimited Father. You have to break your intellect's yoga away from limited fathers. You have to forget all your friends and relatives, your own bodies, and your bodily relations in this whole world. You receive this direction from the Father. The Father never forgets the children. The Father says, even on the path of devotion, I have been looking after you devotees. However, according to the drama, you children had to forget this. It is Maya that makes you forget this. Ravan also makes you forget that you are souls and makes you body conscious. This is in the path of you children. It isn't that you simply forget the Father there. You also forget to remember the Father, who he is and what he is, and also the knowledge of him giving you happiness. You now know that the Father comes here every cycle. Your intellects also have to imbibe what Baba is like. People have made large images of Shivalingams. The pictures of all the others are fine, just as the picture of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar is fine, and they are also worshipped in the temples. However, they forget the name, form, place, and time of the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. They even forget his image. It has been explained to you, children, that each soul is a point. It is a point like a star. It resides in the center of the forehead. You children know that you are souls. The place of residence of myself, the soul, is in this body, in the center of the forehead. Everyone would accept this. It is very subtle, like a point. You also know that the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, would also be a point in the same way. He comes himself and explains to you. And what he explains? I too am a point. However, people have made his form big, like a Jyotirlinga, in the same way as they have made a big form of Buddha. On the path of devotion, they have portrayed the Pandavas with very tall bodies. On the path of devotion, they have made big images. Whereas on the path of this knowledge, we have smaller images. God says, I am a point. In some places, they keep large images of a lingam. How would a point be worshipped? It would definitely be something large that is worshipped. The form of a point has now been explained to you. People do not understand these things. You children also did not have this understanding previously. Now that your stage has matured, you understand that this is accurate. If Baba had explained this at the beginning, we would not have understood, because a point is really nothing. We would not have accepted that. They speak of the Shiva Lingam from time immemorial. So what is that? The Father explains. That too is wrong. I am your father. I'm a point. You too have the form of a point. But they create large Shivalingams. And why do they create large Shivalingams? Baba says for worshipping, etc. They make the form of souls like saligrams. But they are not like that. A soul cannot be that big. It is very difficult to see a soul. These are very deep things and have to be understood. Each soul, too, is the form of a point. The part of 84 birds is recorded in such a tiny soul. 1 second cannot be the same as the next. The whole part of 84 birds is recorded in such a tiny soul. These things are nature. A whole part is in the soul. A whole part is in each soul. In other place, the entire parts remain in the intellects of those who are to play their parts. Those are small parts. But you have to understand this part of 84 birds very well. And you also need clever ways of explaining to others. Each soul is such a tiny point. It is so tiny, and yet it is so powerful. He is called the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. You souls become most almighty authorities by having yoga with him. You conquer Maya and then rule an unshakable, immovable, peaceful, and happy kingdom. These matters have to be understood. This is your study. It is very easy. Only the Father can explain this. No human being can explain it. It truly is so tiny, but he is given such a big name. And that big name is the ocean of knowledge. You say that he is the seed of the human world tree. He is living. He is the truth. He is imperishable. People have been saying this, but it doesn't enter anyone's intellect what he is. They praise his virtues a great deal. You children are now sitting personally in front of the Father. You know that you souls are personally in front of him. All souls are brothers. Just think about it. Souls are such tiny points. When we draw a picture of the incorporeal world, we show forms of points. Just as stars hang in the sky, in the same way, we souls will be hanging in our own section in the great element. The tree has been made up of tiny stars. Souls come from there and adopt bodies to play their parts. Your intellects should work on how souls come down number-wise. The section of each religion would be separate. The Father explains to you with examples. He also explains to you the example of the banyan tree. The Hindi language is used in many places, and so children have to explain in that language. The Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, also explains using the Hindi language. Nowadays, they continue to spread this widely everywhere. It is difficult for there to be just one language. Some people think that the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, knows all languages, but it cannot be like that. There are so many different languages. They would have to be learned. The Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul doesn't need to learn anything. He explains in the same language that he used in the previous cycle. However, everyone has to study in their own language. Would the Father have to learn it? You can see that the Hindi language has been used from the beginning. Everyone continues to learn Hindi. The Hindi language is widely used in Bharat. The Father also explains in Hindi, and then everyone has to translate it into their own language and explain to others. The introduction of the Father and his creation have to be explained to everyone. That one Father is the bestower of salvation for all. Everyone will come to know that the Father truly has come. The father says, I only come in Bharat. Bharat is my birthplace. The temples to Shiva and the temples to the deities are also here, in brackets, in Bharat. The kingdom of the deities is also in Bharat. The Father too has come in Bharat. The establishment of the deity religion takes place here. Therefore, the temples are also definitely have to be here. Others wouldn't have as many temples. Here, there are many temples. They have pictures of Lakshmi and Narayan, Radha and Krishna, Rama and Sita in every home, because they existed in Bharat. However, people have forgotten how they claimed the kingdom. In living forms, they ruled the kingdom. Lakshmi and Narayan were the empress and emperor of paradise. You also know how long it has been since they ruled the kingdom. You say 3,000 years before Christ, there was the kingdom of the deities. So it is now 2,000 years since Christ existed. Therefore, explain these particular points to those who say this. They say that there was the kingdom of the deities 3,000 years before Christ. That is, there was heaven. They don't say that Christ was in that heaven. You should ask, where were the Christians at that time? That is, where were their souls? Where were the souls of all those of Islam, the Buddhists, and the Christians? It is very easy to explain these things. They were all in the land of Nirvana, the incorporeal world. There is the incorporeal world. There must definitely be many living forms. There must definitely be many living in the world. The place of residence of all souls is the incorporeal world, the great element. It is now in the intellects of you children that the souls of all the deities are present here at this time. This is the time when the Father comes and once again carries out the establishment of the deity religion. For example, when a new religion begins, it is very small at first. When the small branches emerge and come to an end, your foundation will also be complete. It is very easy to explain the secrets of the seed and the tree. The tree of the human world is that of the many religions. They can understand from that when such and such a religion existed and when such and such a religion didn't exist. Now, smaller religions are emerging that didn't exist previously. Small branches have now emerged. Only you children know this. No one else knows it. They don't know the point form of souls and the supreme soul. Baba has now explained. Baba has now come and explains to you children. You say, Baba, we are your children. We also met you in the previous cycle to claim and became your children. We also met you in the previous cycle. We became your children. You became the children in order to claim the Father's inheritance. The Father says, you belong to me. You belong to me. That is, you have become my mouth-born adopted creation. All of you are adopted. Baba speaks through the mouth of Brahma. What he says to us, you souls are mine. You souls also say, Baba, you have entered the body of Brahma and given us your introduction. And so we belong to you. As soon as you say Baba, you would receive the fragrance of the inheritance. Only you children can say this. This is a family path. Sannyasis have disciples. They are not fathers and children. Only from one father's, Baba says, only from one's father can an inheritance or property be received. Those people say that they have adopted a guru. An inheritance of property cannot be received from a guru. They renounce their property and go away to the forests. They cannot give any property away. They belong to the path of isolation. The Father gives you property, whereas you don't receive anything from them. That is the sannyasis. When they go to a forest, they are called sannyasis. You too are called sannyasis. They are Hatha Yoga sannyasis, whereas you are Raja Yoga sannyasis. Sannyasis means those who renounce the 5 vices. You renounce them and then go to the pure world. They only remain in the impure world. The Father explains, souls are so tiny. Such tiny things have so much strength. Souls are so tiny. Such tiny things have so much strength. They are also imperishable. The Father explains through this body. You souls understand it. The Father says, I come when it is the end of the Iron Age, and everyone is tamopradhan and impure. It is then that you remember me. I come when it is the confluence age. It is then that the signs of destruction are visible. You truly can see them. You have now received understanding, which you have to give to others. It is now definitely the end of the Iron Age. There are also the Yadavas, the Kauravas, and the Pandavas. There is the Mahabharata war too. Truly, they studied Raja Yoga at that time. The Pandavas gained victory, and the Yadavas and the Kauravas were destroyed. There is just the one religion in heaven. All the innumerable religions will have ended. The Father sits here and explains this. You children know that we claim the deity status from the Father through these teachings of Raja Yoga. You definitely have to make effort to become Narayan from an ordinary man. We will definitely become the Father's heirs and be seated on the Father's heart throne. You will then claim a status according to how much you have made. Effort makers cannot remain hidden. They are very intoxicating. First of all, you make a promise. After the father's birth, there is the festival of Raksha Bandhan. So having come to the Father, you have to make a promise to him. The Father says lust is the greatest enemy. All the 5 vices have to be donated. The main one is lust, referring to the 5 vices. The main one is lust. You have to remain very cautious about this. Although you may live in your home with your wives and families, to remain pure is something that requires effort. By remembering the Almighty Authority Father and following his directions, you receive strength. The Father's orders are, whilst living together, you have to remain pure. Previously, when you husbands and wives live together, there would be fire. Baba is referring to fire of lust. The Father says, live together, but there must be no fire. Acha, okay. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, loved remembrance and good morning. From the mother, the father, Baptan. The spiritual father says, Namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say, Namaste to the spiritual father. Essence for Dharana points to practice for today. First point, keep the Father in your heart and maintain the happiness of receiving the property. You definitely have to become completely pure. It's preparing us for Raksha Bandhan, which is to be celebrated this weekend. You have to become completely pure. Second point, just think about how tiny each soul is and how each one has such an imperishable part recorded in him. Become a point and stay in remembrance of the Father, a point. Baba's blessing for today. May you be one of the clever and wisest ones, and just give once of your own freedom, will, wit, determination, and receive multi-millions fold in return. And Baba explains this wonderful blessing. The cleverest and wisest children give a handful of unwashed rice and create multi-millions. They give a handful of unwashed rice and create a multi-million fold fortune. They just give rice, and in return of that, receive all the powers, all the treasures, and more than 36 varieties of food. However, at the time of giving, like Sudama, even this much, receive some children secretly hide it under their arms. However, at this time, giving like Sudama, even this much, some children secretly hide it under their arms. The father can take it by pulling it from those children. But if it has been taken from you, you will not get that much in return. Therefore, when you give even once of your own free will, with determination, it is like receiving multi-millions. This is being clever. Just as benefit, Baba says, there is benefit in giving in this way. So this is being clever, giving and receiving. Multi-millions is in receiving. This is being clever. There is benefit in giving in this way. And the slogan for today: those who watch every game with detachment as observers truly are detached observers. I shall repeat: those who watch every game with detachment as observers truly are detached observers. Om Shanti. You have a very powerful day in Baba's sweet remembrance.